The autumn rain drummed against the floor-to-ceiling windows of the penthouse as Marcus Chen stood in his home office, adjusting the tiny camera he'd just installed in the living room. His hands trembled slightly, not from the technical work, but from the weight of what he was doing. "Is this really necessary?" he muttered to himself, though he knew the answer. Marcus was the founder of TechVault Industries, a cybersecurity empire that had made him one of Boston's wealthiest entrepreneurs. But all the money in the world couldn't solve his current crisis. His 8-year-old twins, Sophie and Nathan, both born with cerebral palsy, needed constant care he couldn't provide while running his company through its most critical expansion phase. For 3 months, he'd employed Elena, a Polish immigrant in her mid-50s who worked through her maid services. The agency had impeccable credentials, and Elena's references were spotless. Yet Marcus couldn't shake his unease. His ex-wife, Vanessa, had poisoned his trust during their bitter divorce 2 years ago, taking half his fortune and immediately remarrying. She'd painted him as a workaholic who cared more about profit margins than people. Maybe she was right. Maybe that's why he was installing surveillance cameras to spy on the woman caring for his children. "Trust, but verify," Marcus whispered, repeating his corporate mantra. In business, he verified everything. Why should his home be different? Elena arrived at 7 a.m. sharp, as she did every weekday. Marcus watched from his office doorway, as she removed her rain-soaked coat, and immediately went to the twins' bedroom. He heard her gentle voice. "Good morning, my little stars. Did you sleep well?" Sophie's delighted squeal echoed through the penthouse. Nathan's laughter followed, sounds that seemed rarer when Marcus was home. "I'm heading to the office," Marcus announced, entering the living room with his briefcase. "I'll be back around 7 tonight. There's a board meeting." Elena turned, her weathered face creasing into a professional smile. "Of course, Mr. Chen. We'll be fine. Won't we, children?" Marcus nodded stiffly, kissed his children's foreheads, and left. In the elevator descending to the parking garage, he pulled out his phone and opened the camera app. The feed showed Elena settling the twins at the breakfast table, patiently helping Nathan with his specially designed spoon. Everything looked normal. So far, for 2 weeks, Marcus monitored the feeds obsessively. During meetings, he'd glance at his phone. Between conference calls, he'd scrub through recorded footage. What he saw should have reassured him. Elena was attentive, patient, and kind. She helped Sophie with physical therapy exercises, read to Nathan for hours, prepared nutritious meals, and maintained the penthouse immaculately. But Marcus noticed other things too. Elena often arrived 15 minutes early, but never asked for extra pay. She stayed late when the twins were upset, again without compensation. She brought small gifts, used books from thrift stores, hand-knitted scarves as the weather turned colder. Once, he saw her slip a $20 bill into the twins' piggy bank, thinking no one was watching. Why? Marcus wondered. What's her angle? His business instinct screamed that nobody was this selfless without ulterior motives. His assistant, David, had warned him, these caregivers, they get emotionally attached, then they ask for raises or threaten to leave. It's a negotiating tactic. Marcus decided to test Elena's loyalty. "Elena, I need to speak with you," Marcus said one Friday evening, his voice deliberately cold. Elena looked up from where she was helping Sophie into her wheelchair, concern flickering across her face. "Yes, Mr. Chen. I've been reviewing the household expenses. I'm afraid I need to reduce your hours, and your pay, by 20%. Effective immediately." It was a lie. Marcus was worth $340 million, money wasn't the issue. But he wanted to see how Elena would react. Would she threaten to quit? Demand better treatment? Show her true colors? Elena's face fell, and she looked away quickly, but not before Marcus saw the tears welling in her eyes. I understand, Mr. Chen. Whatever you need." "Daddy, no." Sophie cried out. "You can't. Elena is the best." "Sophie, that's enough," Marcus snapped, more harshly than he intended. Elena composed herself, gently touching Sophie's shoulder. "It's all right, sweetheart. Your father has many responsibilities. I'm grateful to keep working here at all." That night, reviewing the camera footage after Elena had left, Marcus watched her in the hallway before she departed. She leaned against the wall, covered her face with her hands, and her shoulders shook with silent sobs. Then she straightened, wiped her eyes, and walked out with her head high. Marcus felt something twist in his chest. Something that felt uncomfortably like shame. 2 weeks after the pay cut, Marcus noticed Elena looking thinner. She still performed her duties flawlessly, but dark circles shadowed her eyes. During lunch breaks, instead of eating in the kitchen, as she usually did, she would simply drink water and claim she'd had a large breakfast. One afternoon, Marcus came home early from a cancelled meeting. He entered quietly and heard Elena's voice from the living room, speaking in Polish on her phone. He didn't understand the language, but her tone was distressed, apologetic. When she hung up, she sat very still, staring at nothing. Is everything all right, Elena? Marcus asked, stepping into the room. She jumped, startled, then forced a smile. Yes, Mr. Chen. I didn't expect you home. I'll start dinner preparations, answer my question. Elena hesitated, then said quietly, it's nothing that concerns you, sir. Just some personal matters back home. She wouldn't elaborate, and Marcus didn't press. But that night, he made a decision he'd later question. He called the Homemade Services Agency and asked them to investigate Elena's background more thoroughly, not just her work history, but her personal life. I need to know everything, he told the agency director. Where her money goes, who she talks to, everything. Mr. Chen, that's quite invasive, I'm paying you enough. Do it. The report arrived 3 days later, and Marcus read it in his office with growing disbelief. Elena Kowalski had immigrated to the United States 12 years ago. She'd left behind her husband, Piotr, who was in the late stages of ALS and required round-the-clock care in a specialized facility in Warsaw. Elena had come to America because the wages were higher. She sent 85% of every paycheck back to Poland to cover Piotr's medical expenses. The report detailed her life with brutal clarity. Elena lived in a basement studio apartment in one of Boston's poorest neighborhoods. She worked 7 days a week, 5 days for Marcus, weekend nights cleaning office buildings. She ate 1 meal a day to save money. The books she gave the twins weren't from thrift stores. They were from the free exchange box at the public library. The $20 she'd put in their piggy bank represented 2 hours of her weekend cleaning wage. Since Marcus had cut her pay, Elena had been forced to choose, reduce her husband's care, or stop sending money to her own daughter, Kasia, a nursing student in Krakow. She'd chosen to sacrifice meals instead of either. The investigator had included a final note. Subject shows no signs of deception or theft. Her dedication appears genuine, driven by family obligation and personal integrity. No red flags identified. Marcus sat back in his leather chair, the report trembling in his hands. The woman he'd suspected of ulterior motives was quietly destroying herself to care for his children and for a husband an ocean away who might never recover. What have I done? That night, Marcus couldn't sleep. He watched old camera footage, seeing Elena with new eyes. There, Elena teaching Nathan to laugh at silly jokes when his frustration with his limited mobility made him cry. There, Elena sitting with Sophie during a seizure, calm and capable, singing softly in Polish until it passed. There, Elena staying 2 hours past her shift, unpaid, until Marcus came home from a business dinner he'd forgotten to mention. In every frame, Marcus saw something he'd been too blind to recognize. Love, not the transactional kind he'd known in business, or even the complicated kind he'd shared with Vanessa. This was the selfless love of someone who cared for children as if they were her own, asking nothing in return. And he'd repaid her by cutting her salary and spying on her. Marcus grabbed his phone and started making calls. It was 2 a.m., but he had enough influence, and enough money, to make things happen regardless of the hour. Elena, I need to speak with you privately, Marcus said the next evening after the twins were in bed. Elena followed him to the home office, her expression wary. She probably expected another pay cut, or worse, termination. Marcus gestured to a chair. Please sit. Mr. Chen, if I've done something wrong, you've done nothing wrong. I have. Marcus pulled out the investigation report. I had you investigated, Elena. I know about Piotr. About Kasia. About your living situation. About everything. Elena's face went pale. You had no right, you're absolutely correct. I had no right, and I'm deeply ashamed. Marcus opened his desk drawer and pulled out an envelope. This contains a check for $50,000, representing the pay I cut, back pay for all your overtime hours, and a substantial bonus. It's also accompanied by a new contract, 40% pay increase, full health insurance, and 2 months of paid leave annually. Elena stared at the envelope as if it might bite her. I don't understand. There's more. Marcus pulled out additional documents. I've contacted a medical facility in Warsaw that specializes in ALS care. They've agreed to accept Piotr as a patient. I'm covering all expenses that your Polish insurance doesn't, indefinitely. I've also established a fund for Kasia's education. She won't need to worry about tuition. Elena's hands flew to her mouth. Why? Why would you do this? Marcus felt his throat tighten. Because I've spent 3 months looking for reasons not to trust you, when I should have been grateful that my children have someone who loves them. Because you put my twins' needs before your own survival. Because. He paused, struggling with words that didn't come easily. Because you've shown me what real character looks like, and I've been too much of a cynic to see it. Elena burst into tears, not the silent, dignified crying Marcus had seen on the camera, but deep, racking sobs of relief. My Piotr, you don't know what this means. The doctors said he had maybe 6 months in the facility he's in now. This new place, they might give him years. Quality years. I know what it's like to feel helpless, Marcus said quietly. When the twins were born, and the doctors gave us the diagnosis, I threw money at every specialist, every treatment. But I couldn't buy them a cure. I couldn't buy them normalcy. The only thing I could do was make sure they had the best care possible. He met Elena's eyes. Turns out, the best care doesn't come from expensive medical degrees. It comes from someone who treats them like they are precious. Like they are worth sacrificing for. Elena wiped her eyes with her sleeve. They are precious, Mr. Chen. They are remarkable children. I know they are. I just forget sometimes, buried under all the business pressure. Marcus pulled out one more document. There's something else. I'm reducing my work hours. David can handle more of the day-to-day operations. I want to be here for dinner every night. I want to help with physical therapy. I want to actually be their father, not just their provider. Elena smiled through her tears. They would love that. They talk about you constantly. Nathan wants to be brilliant with computers like his daddy. Sophie wants to make important decisions like you. Marcus felt something crack in his chest, the armor he'd built around himself since the divorce. I watched you on cameras for weeks, Elena. I was looking for proof that you were after something. But you know what I actually saw? I saw you being the parent I should be. Mr. Chen, Marcus. Please, call me Marcus. Elena nodded slowly. Then you should know, Marcus, those children don't need perfection. They just need presence. You're already a good father. You just need to believe it. 3 months later, Marcus sat at the dinner table with Sophie, Nathan, and Elena, laughing at one of Nathan's terrible jokes. The cameras were still installed, not because Marcus distrusted Elena, but because he'd discovered something unexpected. Watching the footage helped him learn. He saw how Elena redirected Sophie's frustrations into creativity, how she encouraged Nathan's curiosity, how she made disabilities seem like minor details rather than defining characteristics. Marcus had started imitating her techniques. To his surprise, they worked. Daddy, can we tell you a secret? Sophie asked conspiratorially. Of course, sweetheart. Nathan leaned forward. We knew about the cameras. Marcus nearly choked on his water. What? Elena's eyes twinkled with amusement. Children notice everything, Marcus. They asked me about the little lights weeks ago. And we weren't mad, Sophie added. Elena said you were just worried about us, because you love us. But you don't need to worry, Nathan continued. Elena takes really good care of us. And now you do too. Marcus looked at Elena, who smiled gently. She'd known about the surveillance all along and had never said a word. She'd simply continued doing her job with integrity, knowing she was being watched, never performing for the camera, just being herself. I think, Marcus said slowly, I've been learning from the wrong teachers my whole life. I thought success meant never trusting anyone. Always verifying. Always protecting yourself. He reached out and took Elena's hand, then gathered his children's hands too. But you three have taught me that real success is building something worth trusting in the first place. Like a family? Sophie asked. Exactly like a family. 5 years later, Marcus stood in a Warsaw hospital room, holding Elena's hand as Piotr took his last, peaceful breath. The experimental treatments had bought him 4 additional years, 4 years of video calls with Elena, of seeing his daughter Kasia graduate nursing school, of knowing his wife's sacrifices hadn't been in vain. Thank you, Elena whispered, tears streaming down her face. For giving us this time. For everything. Marcus squeezed her hand. You gave me my life back, Elena. Gave my children a childhood. This was the least I could do. Back in Boston, Sophie and Nathan were now teenagers. Sophie was developing assistive technology software, inspired by her own experiences. Nathan was advocating for disability rights at his high school. Both were thriving, confident, loved, and Marcus had learned the hardest lesson of his life. That trust, once given to someone worthy, was the most profitable investment he'd ever make, not in dollars, but in the currency that actually mattered. The cameras were long gone from the penthouse. Marcus didn't need them anymore. He'd finally learned to see what was right in front of him.